welcome to the Alchemy of Love podcast, where we explore how to weave sacred intimacy and sacred sexuality into your everyday life. We're having juicy, deep conversations. We're mapping out tools and techniques that are accessible and available to each and every human out there who is open to grow, open to learn, and open to heal. Welcome to the Alchemy of Love podcast. We're excited to be back with you today, diving into juicy topics around sacred intimacy and sacred sexuality. And as promised, we have Faye Howell here with us today. She is going to be telling us a little bit about her journey and what brought her into these realms. And then we're going to be having a conversation about spiritual sovereignty and energetic sovereignty, and just exploring what that is and how you can build that into your healing journey. Without further ado, here is Faye.
Thanks, Aeriel. I'm so excited to be here. Oh, wow. It has been quite the journey, and I wouldn't take it back at all. How I got into this work is I just remember actually it starting really when I was really young. When I look back, in the sense that I was always just such a curious little girl. And I was always very curious about how things worked and also very wild and sensual. Like you could find me playing outside with my sister, making forts, even like playing like I was a little bit like a tom girl. And then I would be like, I remember as a baby, there was this picture of me just like massaging all the food into my face and my hair. Like I'm still like that. Like I'll just be like, touching my hair. My partner will be like fixing it and just being like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I just love like tactile touch and I love hugs and I love adventure. And I was always kind of interested in how everything works in a holistic way. So when it came to getting my period for the first time, I was like, I got my underwear and I was parading around with my with my best friend. I was like, wow, this is so cool. Like I'm a woman. And, when we learned family life, I guess when I was about 11 or 12, I was talking to my sister, probably she was too young, but I was like so excited about it. So I always felt like sexuality was such a natural thing. And then, but at the same time, I would find out slowly that that was not the same experience for other women in my family. Um, I don't want to mention who it is just because that's really private. But let's just say that, some of the women, I come from a line of sexual abuse. And so it created this kind of fragmentation in my psyche around naturally being very wild, naturally being empowered and sexual, and then also hearing how sexuality could also be linked with violence. And so, ooh, I got shivers. And that's what I'm really passionate about for women is how can we grieve, hold space for each other, to release the pain of a lot of the societal conditions that has repressed what is naturally a beautiful thing and turned it into something else. I believe I also studied the history of sexuality in university, paired eventually to my embodiment and my Tantra teachings. So I know that, with the church, and I'm a very spiritual person. I'm not, everybody has their own authority to believe what they want to believe. But
Mm-hmm.
historically speaking, some of the religions has really demonized people and women
Mm-hmm.
to be sexual. And I think that through that repression, there has been a lot of confusion. And so this natural inkling for sexuality and connection then comes
Mm-hmm.
out in a really shadowy, dark way that is violent.
Mm-hmm.
Because if in
Mm-hmm.
your own psyche, you're like, oh, that is something that I'm not supposed to do, then it's going to come out in
Mm-hmm.
really deviant ways. So it,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That's so powerful. My goodness, you just went so deep, and what a beautiful exploration there in your story of the light and the dark, of the innocence, of the innate innocence of our sexuality. And I always felt too that our true connection to our sexual center takes us to a place of deep, deep innocence. And that is not a connection that a lot of people make quickly or easily. And I think that the way that you talked about having your first moon time and how excited you were to be a woman, that's so beautiful. That's so wonderful to hear. It's so healing just hearing that. And
Mhm.
then, yeah, just that journey of then experiencing what happens with the shadow side of sexuality and how that can lead you to disconnect from the healing aspects of it, and how it can become fragmented. And definitely, we live in a world of so much fragmentation of self and so much suppression of our sexual power and our sexual wholeness. And even that term is one that a lot of people need time to sit with, like sexual wholeness. Like, what could that even mean?
Mhm.
So, yeah, you just covered so much in your story there. And it's just so beautiful. And thank you so, so much.
Yeah, I mean, just to continue, my first experience is also around um partnership and deep intimacy, and losing my virginity was with somebody that I loved. Um,
Mm,
that was 5 years of my high school. And I was pretty exploratory. We tried kink, we tried all these things. It was so interesting. I was
mm,
just so open to it. But I was blessed, like hearing other girlfriends and their experiences, to actually be held in love
mm,
and sexuality. So even though there was this shadow within it being taken away from my other family members, I had this experience of actually deeply, like I waited a year and being in love with somebody and then exploring that.
mm,
So I think that it set me up for that belief or patterning that love can be connected with sexuality. And I think because of a lot of women's experiences and men's also, there may have been drugs involved, like alcohol
mhm,
involved when people lost their virginity. It was this impulsive, a lot of people, it was just this impulsive thing because again, it
mhm,
wasn't I believe in Sweden, they have a really good education system around more
mm,
of a celebration around sexuality and
mhm,
intimacy and even how to kiss. And it's when we like actually celebrate anything,
mhm,
then it's going to come to the light. But within our education system, my education system, even though I was excited about it, it was
mm.
more punitive, or it was more
Yeah.
like, this is protection. This is like, if you're going to do it, then
Mhm,
therefore make sure you don't spread disease or
mhm,
you don't get pregnant. So that's really
mhm.
negative. And
Yeah.
so then that puts it out to teenagers, usually it's teenagers or early 20s, that let's do this in an anxious way, or
Yeah.
let's be not conscious
Yeah.
with drinking a bit
Yeah.
because it's like something we want to do. And then when you when that is uh the platform, or not the platform, like that's the building block of your
Mm-hmm.
experience.
Mm-hmm.
That is why I think the work that we're doing with creating safe containers for women to grieve and to clear out and to rewire what
Mm-hmm.
they associate pleasure with, it's
Mm-hmm.
so important to understand that there is so much shame and there is
Mm-hmm.
so much grief that needs to be had to then this reclamation of, like you said, the innocence that
Mm-hmm.
actually, like, it actually receiving pleasure is like nature. It's life-giving.
Mm-hmm.
It's abundance. Your life is going to change for the better because you realize that, like, what is pleasure other than, celebrating your body.
Absolutely. That organic beauty. And yeah, I totally agree that there's so many problems with all the fear and the shame that has been patterned into us, connected to our sexuality. And it has the total opposite effect of helping people to explore their sexuality in safe, grounded ways. It creates the opposite. People will repress it on one side, they'll repress it, but then on the other side, they'll go into it super unconsciously because they've been repressing it and because it's been associated with fear and shame and pain and all of these things. And I think people want to reclaim it because people know that there's something really good and magic and special about sexuality. So it's definitely both beautiful and also challenging that as we get older and we can finally get the support and the education to work with our sexuality and healing in positive ways, that there's a grief process for a lot of us because of, yes, all the wounding that happened when we didn't have the right information. But at the same time, how wonderful is it that we're in this time, in this place where we have access to this level of healing because for so long it wasn't available. So yeah, there's kind of some sadness and some sweetness, I think, with diving into this kind of a journey around our sexuality.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, well said. And when you're saying the timing, I just think about the timing in our history. Speaking of the
Mm,
history of sexuality, like, we, there is a great healing evolution happening,
mhm.
and the curtain has been pulled back when it comes to, sexuality, it comes to women, it comes to people of different color, like everything is coming out. And that can feel a lot sometimes, but also it's just like we actually have the opportunity and we have people that can support us and that are in the know, where we can
Mhm.
all be supportive and be in this point of history where we have the permission to actually
Mhm.
speak more honestly of what has happened to our mothers, our sisters, our grandmothers, ourselves, and then to reclaim, to heal it and reclaim it and actually
Mhm.
live a pleasurable life. Like, not
Yes,
even in the, like, in the
yes,
world. Like, we're in North
yes.
America and we actually have that permission. That's
Mhm.
huge.
It really is, totally. And yeah, I think I'm often thinking about the grandmothers and, reflecting when I'm hitting a difficult part of the journey about how precious it is to even be able to go into this path and how much my grandmothers would have wanted to be able to have some of this freedom and access to do some of this kind of healing, right? And how they would have had to live with so much in silence. And yeah, the reclamation of voice and sovereignty and all of that is, I mean, it's so sacred. It's so precious.
It's so precious. And it's all within each individual woman. We have that, we have all the medicine. Like, we
Mhm.
have all the medicine within us. And then when we're supported,
Mhm.
um, to go there, to grieve, to reignite, to be curious.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, getting into a little bit more about the energetic sovereignty, like what is that? For me, energetic sovereignty really came about with many, many partnerships. So like I wired myself or through my history to really lean on men. Like it was a beautiful experience in a way, but then also like I had to come to this sexual sovereignty at some point in my life when I got to a point where because of all the shadow I had to go through, that I was dating somebody that was like quite toxic. And it was a blessing though, because it pushed me to really clean the space of my womb, really come back to that sense of pleasure within myself without a man, without another
Mm-hmm.
person. And so, if you purchase our program, The Alchemy of the Goddess, we teach you techniques in relation to doing this. And when you are
Mm-hmm.
feeling blissed out and pleasure and you're feeling open to the world and things are magnetizing towards you, like people are like, oh my gosh, they want to be around you because you have this beautiful energy and you're dancing and you're getting turned on. It's like you don't need to get that from outside of yourself. And that is just pure magic to me. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like every woman can access that. So, um, yeah,
Oh,
I'm really excited for
absolutely.
a course in that and the meditations and the yoni heart meditations and the PC holds and the kundalini and the
Mhm.
dance and all of that. It's just like
Mhm.
that is the way. You can do it. You can reclaim
Absolutely.
that sexy pleasure.
Yeah, and it's such a multi-layered journey. Like as you were saying, there's so many different pieces to approach, right? With reclaiming our sovereignty and starting to work with our sacred sexuality in a healing way. So, it is about the voice, it is about the body, it is about the kundalini. It's all of these different pieces come into play. And that's why I think we had so much fun making it because we get so excited about all of these things, right? And I think both of us just love the creative energy. We love the feminine. And so we were so excited to throw in all these different pieces and create this really expansive, juicy, complete kind of journey for women. And then and then the other piece is the connection that we have, like you were saying, like we're really meant to be mirrors to each other. We're really meant as women to be connectors. So then having those opportunities to share our reflections with each other and share these kinds of conversations. And I hope so many women that are listening to this that find this, have a chance to share a little bit about their journey somewhere in the comments and social media or in our app or in our program. Because I know every time I hear from other women about their experiences, just like listening to you today, it heals me. Like I
Mm.
feel like I have permission to have my grief and have my pleasure and have my voice and then yeah, we're just growing more and more together. And it's like, honestly, what's more beautiful than that? It's just so wonderful.
I love that. And that
Mm,
just reminds me, like across the board, about what humans need.
hmm
Humans need to feel safe. They need
hmm
food and relationships, but they need to be seen.
Yeah.
Your authenticity, when someone else is being authentic, they feel safe enough to share their own experience. Like I'm sharing my experience right
Mm,
now. You give somebody else an opportunity to feel safe to express that authentic emotion or authentic experience in themselves. And then it builds and builds and builds
mhm.
because we release the shackles. I'm going to be intense, but we release this control that parts of ourselves are not allowed, don't have permission, should feel shameful. But when
Mhm.
we start to have that courage, like this is a courageous journey,
Oh gosh,
to
yeah. Oh
to
yes,
to
it
be like,
is.
this
Oh
is
yes, it is.
me. And then you're like, this is me. And we're just like,
Yeah.
yay.
Right? I know. And we were talking about this earlier when I was saying about how I get nervous about doing Facebook Lives, and I was sharing with you some vulnerability around that. But we were saying like how it's kind of nice too. It's like it's the edge, right? It's that reclamation. There's a
Mhm.
piece of self to reclaim there. And that's even reminding me of the existential kink that's in our program and that
Mhm.
whole philosophy. So anyway, I think we've hopefully piqued some curiosity and some interest because there's a lot of juicy stuff in the program. And I'll
So
just
much.
mention a couple of things about it as we wrap up here. Just, yeah, it's the Alchemy of the Goddess program, which is in our app. If you're watching this podcast in our app and you have a free account and you want to access Alchemy of the Goddess, you can just go ahead and buy a monthly membership. And for $49 a month, you can have full access to the entire program. And then we have our private Facebook group, our Pleasure Alchemists group. And that's where you can engage with us and other women on the journey. And we get to share our experiences, and it gets really, really alive and so beautiful when we're getting to interact. And then for those who want to have a little bit of a deeper dive, you can also go into a premium membership where you can access our once a month live classes where we go more in depth into some of our topics and we share more healing, mirroring, connection exercises. And we just get to really have that nourishing time as women together. And yeah, we love those calls and love those opportunities to get to know you all. And it's just so fun. And tune back in for more podcast episodes soon. We're going to be creating more content all the time and adding to this. Trust me, we have an unlimited amount of topics to explore. And Faye and I have been waiting quite some time to get these conversations into a format where we can share them with people because we just tend to go off into the wildest, coolest, deepest areas when we get talking. So excited to share this with you all and hope you have a beautiful journey until we connect next time.
Yes. And please take the opportunity for yourself to go in to the program. There is so much material. There's so much. It's tantric, which is more traditional, but also we get into some neurology connected with the soma. So it's really
Mhm.
modernized for your own experience.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, I'm just so excited for you all to reclaim the beautiful, juicy womanhood that you are and to meet you. And yeah, thank you so much, Aeriel. I'm really excited to have more conversations into all the different doorways of our sacred sexuality. So
Mm,
yeah,
yay.
everyone have a great day. Have a great week. And yeah, do something good for your own pleasure today.
Mhm.
That could be the first step, the smallest step,
Do something
whatever
sweet
that
for you
is.
today. Absolutely. Blessings all. Bye for now.
Bye.